360.
Hi.
Good morning. Good morning.
364, sis.
364. Lesson 364. So this is the second last lesson, workbook lesson. Is it?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Is it? Okay.
You're going to
It,
read, and then
I
who
am.
knows? And then who knows? Yes.
Okay. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. Can we just pause for a minute and take that in?
Yes.
Close our eyes. And if I need a word to help me, he will give it to me. If I need a thought, that will he also give. And if I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of him. He is in charge by my request, and he will hear and answer me, because he speaks for God, my Father, and his Holy Son.
It, it feels right to to give a couple examples of what's possible when we get out of the way completely. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to start, sis?
I'll try. You're speaking about miracles, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I want them to know what this will result in.
Okay. Well, I might share one of the hundreds of miracles I've experienced, which was, to me back then, seemed to be in the ego's hierarchy of illusions, it seemed to be an illusion that was probably going to be one of the most difficult, apart from overcoming death. That was in my confused mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it was in 2012, and I was going through a particularly difficult phase of undoing or deconstruction of the ego. Yeah. And at that point, I was guided very, very strongly to leave my home and go on a sabbatical for a few months. And, you know, I put put the word out there. Anybody in North America, would you know where I could go? Anyway, the answer was Sedona in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So I packed up my little car at the time and took off. And what I was guided to do was to temporarily rent a little house outside of Sedona. And the landlady lived across the street from the house I rented. Yeah. And I wasn't on any kind of income at the time. And I couldn't depend on anyone else apart from myself. So it was very tight financially.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to pay the first month's rent. But when it came, I think, to the second month's rent and the third month's rent, I saw that I was getting very low on finances. And yet I was bewildered because I thought, well, I'm doing my work. I'm fulfilling my function here. I was writing the first volume of the End of Death trilogy at the time. So I thought, my God, okay. I had to pay 2 months' rent in advance to the landlady there. And I realized that I didn't have enough money to cover it. It was $1,200 for 2 months' rent.
Mm.
I knew I had $921, I think, in my account. That was it. So I thought, look, I'll brave it. I'll walk across the street, knock on the door, eyeball the landlady heart to heart and tell her the truth. I only have 900 at this point that I can take out to give you, not 1,200, right? Well, she was really, really disappointed. Very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And she agreed to it, but I could see that she was upset. Over the next couple of days until rent day was due, I felt really guilty. Very, very guilty. And I wouldn't even look at her when I went to water the garden out the front there. I would try and avoid her from my own guilt. And then on rent day, when I think it was early in the morning, I decided, well, this needs forgiveness. I mean, that's my function, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So what am I going to do? What needs to be seen? And what I saw was there was a gap between the landlady and me. And it was in my mind and it was my guilt. Yeah. So when I saw that, my heart burst open. I cried. And then I went, I just want to close the gap with the landlady and myself.
Yes.
Right? Now, in that beautiful intention of closing the gap with the landlady and myself, the thought of financial scarcity left my mind. I just wanted to close the gap with her.
Yeah.
And I allowed that experience to happen. I remember driving down to the bank at the time there, and I withdrew $900, and I kept the receipt, which I still have here. I withdrew $900 and I took the cash to her home. I knocked on the door. She welcomed me in. and she said, do you mind if I count the cash? So I sat down, she gave me a glass of water, and in front of me, she counted the cash. And then she looked up at me with a huge grin on her face, all bubbly, and she said, thank you. Thank you. And I was like, wow, she's she's really happy about this 900. And she said, thank you for giving me the full $1,200. So I immediately went, I didn't give you $1,200, $900. So I looked in my wallet, and there was a receipt for $900. And she counted $1,200 on the countertop. So in that moment, I got flushed with the chills. It felt like the whole kitchen was lit up with light. And I knew a miracle had taken place. I knew it. And I just cried. And I knew that the reason that happened was because I desired more than anything to close the gap with the landlady. And it was in that desire for only love and to extend only love, to see my sister's needs as not apart from my own, that of course he fulfilled it at the form level. Gap diagram. Close the gap.
And what did you experience when you wanted to close the gap? Abundance.
Abundance. Abundance. That's it. That's it. That one.
That was beautiful.
Stay with me forever. Thank you, sis. Thank you, everyone, for letting me share that. That was such a miracle. Yeah.
So that is a beautiful example of what occurs when you close the gap with a brother, right?
Yeah.
So I was just asking, because the one that I am going to share is what happens when you close the gap with God. So I'll make this pretty quick. I was studying for the bar examination in California to become a lawyer. That's where you study for 6 months to take a 3-day test. And they only offer it twice a year. So it's a pretty big deal. And I had studied, and it was coming up close to the time to take the exam. At the time, I was renting a room in a house it was owned by a family with kids. And everybody in that house, along with the kids, came down with a terrible case of the flu. And every one of them was incapacitated for well over a week. I had 3 days. Like on the 3rd day was when I had to drive down to this location to take the exam. And I woke up in the middle of the night feeling so sick that I had to crawl on the floor. I couldn't even walk. Crawl to the floor to the bathroom. And as I'm gripping the toilet seat, these thoughts, it'll take longer to say it than it took for it to flash through my mind, but I've studied for 6 months. Everything that I have rides on this. I've got to take this exam. I can't miss this exam. And this flu is going to take me out for well over a week. And there's nothing that I can do about it. I felt so helpless and such despair and complete hopelessness. It was like, so from the depths of my being, I just went, I knew God in that moment. God was the only answer, the only solution. Nothing in the dream was going to deliver me from that scenario. And I needed to be delivered from that scenario. And so it was the prayer of the soul. 3 simple words. God, help me. I was completely open, completely out of the way. And in that moment, it was like when your feet tingle or your feet fall asleep or something. It started in my feet. and it was like a hand just drew something up and out of me. It just felt something was rising up out of the top of my head. And I heard the most authoritative, but so kind and so gentle voice say, "Get up and go back to bed." Just like your parent would say it, you know. And I stood up, I went back to bed. I don't even remember falling back to sleep. I woke up the next morning 100%. And I went on to take the test.
And you succeeded, right?
Yes.
High fives.
High five. But the thing was, and I refer it back to it now as my no plan B prayer. When in a moment we turn to God without any thought that we can do anything to save ourselves, any thought that there's something other than the power of God, and the prayer is completely just to God, that was opening. It was a total forgiveness of the idea of Coreen that could do anything herself, and a complete availing of myself to God. And in that moment, God governed the whole situation. And the miracle occurred, the correction was, and what everybody would say, oh, that flu was really bad and it swept through the neighborhood and everybody had it and God, wasn't it awful, was nothing but a blip on the screen that was taken in an instant. So that's available because it was nothing but a thought. Yeah.
And
Thanks.
you went, I love that. No plan B prayer.
Yeah. God's all powerful. God fills all space. God's the only creator. This is God's show, God's kingdom.
And what is his will for us?
Perfection, holiness, life eternal. To express him, that's what God's will is. That we were created by him to express him. That's how he knows himself, through his son. And when we think that we're mythical me, when we try to have a will apart from God, we sever the communication from God to us. When we think we're different or separate from our brother, we separate communication. And all of this is just a way to defiantly say God's not going to have his way, not his will, but our will. But when we lean in and join with our brothers, that's the first link, and we link up with God, that completes creation. I am one with my brother. I in you, you in me, we in him. That's accepting atonement, not a private, I'm accepting my oneness with God. It has to be all inclusive to give God back his kingdom. That means I am one with creation. I'm one with every brother. There isn't a single brother that I would omit. And we are one in God. Now the impulse can move again. Now the miracles flow. Now creation, as in heaven, so on earth, comes through. And we just behold incredible things that the ego says cannot be done. But all it took was somebody to connect the parts back. So that God's creation, the divine impulse, is now flowing as it always is. But while we try to dismantle through a private will and separation, no thanks God, no brother, that's the way that we would try to impede God's being God right here now. And how beautiful it is, that feeling.
Thank you.
To reconnect.
I'm guided to just try and find something here while you're, because
so have you guys heard the one about the shall I tell them? Have you seen me dance? Hurry up, sis.
No, just I want to find something. I just heard it, so I don't know what it means.
Yeah, trust it.
Yeah, no, I can't find it.
Sure you can.
Well, okay. The Holy Spirit is invisible, but you can see the results of his presence. and through them you will learn that he is there. What he enables you to do is clearly not of this world. For miracles violate every law of reality as this world judges it. Every law of time and space, of magnitude and mass is transcended. Wow. For what the Holy Spirit enables you to do is clearly beyond all of them.
That's it.
That's it. Right there. That's it. And where is that from? That is from chapter 12, section 7 in the text. Yeah. But that's what you and I just experienced. I mean, that's one of the many, many miracles we've had. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could sit here for hours back to back.
Yeah.
Miracles have been astounding.
That's why miracles are, they don't do anything. They don't correct anything. They reveal. It's a revealing. It's a moment where we drop our defenses and are willing to look with God, to let God have his kingdom. Let those laws govern us as opposed to what the ego says. It's dropping what we're so insistent upon to keep God out of the picture. In the absence of our defenses, God is omnipotent. God is omnipresent. God's love is the only love there is.
Yeah.
And that's everything we want, because it's everything we are.
Beautiful. Thank you.
His laws reverse all the laws of the world. You want to know what's possible? Look to Jesus. And he says, I'm here 3 years, you guys. You could do so much more. Greater works. Accept your holiness. Accept your holiness. Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful.
I got the word ballast. I think you're a ballast, sis.
What does that mean?
Ties in with yesterday's lesson, but it just hit me. Somebody's sending me a message that you're a ballast. I'll have to look that up.
We'll have to look it up too. I think maybe some would say that I've been a blast, but not a ballast.
A beautiful ballast. I don't know. You're holy. Thank you.
Thanks,
family. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. That was 364. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. We'll see you one more time.
Yeah, we need to change our clothes for the last lesson.
I'm cold. Can I just keep my jacket on?
I'll go put a blanket around you, sis.
Thanks. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining.
Love
I
you.
hope that was helpful, inspiring. Yeah, have fun with that. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.